Hello, Capricorn. Thank you for tuning in to this week's read. For the main part of the read, I'm using Tarot Illuminati by Eric C. Dunn. Supportive Oracle cards. The Spirit Animal Oracle by Colette Baron Reed. Okay. I haven't had any coffee yet, but I'm smelling it. So I'm wondering if that's making me want to go fast, but I'm feeling it. Sometimes that coffee just gives you that good feeling. I'm just saying. Okay. Let's put some tarot cards. I think this is going to go well. On the upswing, I think this is a situation that actually starts really rough and gets a lot better. I have a feeling it's because it's going to end up in your control is what's going to happen here. When you start off with this situation, you got the Queen of Swords, the Queen of Cups. Don't get caught up in the gender, but these are cards for you. So you're very careful about what you're saying. You know what you're thinking. You've got a lot of heart invested in this, a lot of emotional investment in this situation. But, like, you're playing a really, really good poker hand. Kind of like, I do have a lot of emotional investment here, but certain people, are, if they pick up on that, they're going to use it against me. Because there's certain people you care about very greatly, and you're like, they're going to manipulate me, and it's going to be hard for me to say no. So I'm gonna just play. I'm gonna be very careful about who knows how I'm invested. Like, it's almost like you have a grandchild or something, and I know that's not gonna be for whatever, but it's like there's somebody like that, and you're like, well, I'm not gonna let my child know about how much, because they can manipulate you pretty well. Like, if the grandchild needs something, they could probably pull your strings pretty well if they can make you believe it. So you're very careful. You're very careful, as careful as you can be. I know for a lot of you that's not going to hit that way, but it's like that, you know what I mean? And you got these two cards, Vulture and Squirrel. You're trying to catch on, you're trying to watch. When I'm getting these two together, you're trying to be very careful. The Queen of Swords is also very smart, picking up on cues, on hints going on around you, and I feel the Squirrel going on around you. You're trying to pay attention. You're trying to just not get too involved in certain things, but really pay attention. You're trying to be a part of a situation and then get out of it, just absorb the information and get away from it. You're trying not to really dig into somebody's business, but you're like, but I need to know what's going on. You might be watching between the lines. Kind of like if you're using social media and people don't know you're reading things or watching things, you're paying attention and you're using that squirrel energy. Squirrel is very quick, but they pause and they watch up in the trees. They look for their opportunity, and then they zip down and zip out. You know what I mean? They get what they want. They get out of there, and you may never know they were even there. And that's the energy I'm feeling for you. The Vulture is telling me you're trying to make the best use of this time as possible, but you don't want to be seen. That's the two of these together. Like, you're trying to make the best use of this moment. You're trying to be very careful. In the environment, somebody's creating a situation, but they have the Emperor energy there in the sense of, like, you're seeing somebody else is demanding control. They're demanding this. There's a lot of demands here with the Emperor is what I'm getting. Which the Emperor can be that way when they think that it's warranted. It's subjective to your situation if that's good or bad. I feel like you know already if that's good or bad. So me telling you if it's left or right, you already know. And it is subjective to your situation. So for some of you, it'll be okay. For others of you, you're like, no, that's not okay at all. You're not happy with what's going on here. But the thing is, nobody seems to be happy at this moment. Even the person trying to dictate the orders, things aren't working out the way they want them to. People that are having to deal with this Emperor energy don't like dealing with it. You're not happy with how things are going, but you're trying to not... It's one of those things where you're like, you have to let it settle for a minute. It's not going to get better by just running in there and trying to make changes. So you're trying to let it settle a little bit more. You're trying to get more information. You do have the Queen of Swords there, so you are paying attention. The situation is not the best, but you're absorbing it. It's more of an absorbing moment. Now, the Emperor, when all that's just how it's starting off. That's just explaining how it's starting off. The Emperor falls on his face. The Tower comes right after this. Just because it's the Emperor card doesn't mean there's guaranteed success with that. And especially when you have the Tower card coming right after it, bam, right on their face. Don't get caught up in the gender, but whoever this person is, I feel like they kind of like, I don't know. You know how you feel about this person. I'm already getting, if this is clicking, you know how you feel about this person. But when this happens, it's not good for anybody. It's not good for the situation. But when the Emperor falls on his face, it opens the door for you to go in there and start fixing things and start working with people. It's like you've been kind of waiting for this moment. It's kind of like watching a topsy-turvy table that has 3 legs. You're like, it's going to go at some point. It's not best for the situation, but there's only so much you can do. So when it happens, you go in there and you try to fix things. Because you need to, and you're very invested with something here. So it's like, whatever, there's a facet here that's very important to you, and you're like, I'm not going to let that fail. I'm gonna look out for this situation, whatever it is. So I'm going to get in there and do what I need to do. This makes sense for Capricorn, in my opinion. You're reforming the situation. It's a mess. Like, it is a mess, but you got the 10 of Cups because kind of like, all right, it's a mess, but now that it's fallen over, it can be fixed correctly, and I can actually realign things where they're supposed to be. So it's done. But this is like, it's been a mess for a while. It's almost like it's been a mess for years, and you're like, finally, we get to fix it. That's kind of how it feels. Like, it's been a mess. It's been a train wreck for the longest time. It's been rickety the whole time. But now that it's finally failed, it can be rebuilt correctly. And you're like, finally, we can do this right. It's taking some time. It's going well. You got the flamingo. No, you got the swan, and you got the bat. Swan, that's one of those cards, especially because they got it with pink here. It really does speak of love to me. But they say it's time for a deep dive. The bat spirit says rebirth is assured. The bat is very good at, like, planning ahead is what I'm getting. Like, they from what I understand, they can see with their actual eyes. They just use radar with that, from what I've learned. I think it's a wives' tale that they can't use their eyes, because I think they use both. It's just they do rely on sonar or radar more, maybe? I don't know. But what I'm getting is you've got a lot here. Like, you know what's going on. You know what's coming. You got things planned ahead. The swan is telling me you're happy with where things are going. And you're very deeply involved, so I get where deep dive could be a part of that. You're deeply involved here. Things are going forward. It's not just intuitive. It's like you have things planned ahead. You have people ready to come in at the right time. You have things set up to put forward as necessary to work out. It's not like, I mean, not that you can't be intuitive, but I don't feel like it's like that. It's like, no, I have this set up. I know this is going to happen. I'm not relying on a feeling. I know this is here because I set it up that way. And you got this coming forward for you. You got the dove spirit with the bobcat. The dove spirit, these two were very... This is in the environment. This emperor energy is working with you, is getting along with you. But at the same time, the mystery of the bobcat here, because it says life is a mystery. And there it is, the bobcat right there. Bobcats are predators. They may not be the biggest cat, but they can do some damage. And if they want something, they usually wait and look around, and they do what they got to do. They're not the most deadly cat, but they can be deadly. So I feel like this energy here is kind of like they're getting along, they're working with you, but it seems like when I'm feeling bobcat, they're waiting for an opportunity to get what they want, but it also feels like it doesn't mean the opportunity is going to happen, but they're hoping it does while you're fixing this. Because it's like the Emperor is used to doing things their way. That hopefully won't happen, because I feel like that's a part of the whole why everything was a mess before. The fox spirit and the koala are in the what's actually happening. I feel like you're connected more to the koala. And when I feel koala does what the koala wants to do. You don't tell the koala how to live life. They only eat what they want to eat. They do what they're going to do. It's either their way or just it doesn't happen. That's how I feel about koala. What does it say on koala here? Spirit has a plan. Yeah, that does feel like you're going to do what you're going to do. There's no it's going to go the way you're saying it's going. The fox is telling me, though, that there's a really shifty energy around you. It says think on your feet. The fox is known for being a little shifty. So things may be a little shifty around you, and people might try to push your plan off the mark or push the plan the way they want it to go. But it's almost like somebody like starts taking the table and they're like, they put the plates over here instead, and you're like, no, it goes there, and you put it right back. You're going to set up the table, you're going to put this way. Somebody comes over and changes it or changes the tablecloth. You're like, bring that other one back and get rid of this piece of crap because I'm not doing that. Now put it back. And I feel like that's what this is saying. Anytime somebody tries to derail you or move things around their own way, you're like, nope, not doing that. Put it back. And I feel like this is a weird energy here because you seem to be a little, I don't want to say aggravated. I want to say just kind of like, why are people fighting against the energy? It's kind of like, why aren't people realizing it was a mess? It was a mess before. We don't want to go back to having a mess. Let's just do what I'm telling you. And the moon is here kind of like you're starting to question, like, do you guys really want this to fail again? Or do you want this to work right again? Like, do you prefer it be screwed up? Like, I feel like you're looking at people like you keep doing this. You're doing these little sideways moves. You're supposed to be listening to me. Did you like it when it was screwing up? Did you like it when it was a train wreck? Do you want it to be a train wreck again? Why are you giving me a hard time? That's the moon card, which I'm feeling for you. Moon card also speaks of Cancer, which is the opposite of Capricorn. So there could be a little bit of like, are people just getting in your way just so they can say they had a say in things? Are they cutting off their nose to spite their face? Is that what they're doing? Because a lot of the stuff they're doing and getting in your way with, it just seems nonsense. Seems like flat out nonsense. I feel like you're going to have a literal, like what I just said, I feel like you're going to have a literal talk with somebody about that. Kind of like, literally, are you trying to derail this? Do you want to go back to the mess you had? Do you want another rickety situation? Do you want another shaky situation that's going to fall in again? Or do you want something that you can stand with, work with, and you can depend on? Do you want something that works right? Because if you work with me, we can create something that will work right. Or do you want to go back to what you had? And I feel like you might have to literally tell somebody that. You want to go back to what you had, or do you want better? Which is it? Because if you keep getting in my way, you're going to go back to what you had, and you're going to fall on your face again. Is that what you want? And I feel like when you get the Knight of Cups in the environment, it's because you're flat out going ahead and telling this person, talking with them, and getting them on board with you, kind of like, what do you want? You want train wreck, or you want better? What do you want? You put this in very good perspective. Because it's the Alchemist, but it's the same thing as the Magician card as far as I'm concerned. You got the Eagle Spirit coming in with it. It's not just you seeing the broader picture, it's you explaining it to other people. It's probably something about strength on here. Spirit has your back. Yeah. The eagle has a very broad view. Like, the eagle sees things that other people don't see. From what I understand, these birds, and probably a lot of birds, can see infrared that we can't. So they can see things that we can't. And you're seeing where this is going. You're working with this person. This might be one of those people that you usually have a problem with, but you're like, we need to make this work out. So you're saying what you need to say. You're holding back with other things. You're not letting little annoyances get to you. You got this together. You're putting this in line. You made your point. I feel like if this person's annoying you, it's kind of like, it's one of those things where, yeah, that's who they are, though, and I got bigger fish to fry. So if this person is getting on your nerves, it's just kind of like it doesn't rate. It doesn't matter enough because, like, I got bigger fish to fry. I don't have time to be bothered by that. I don't have the energy for it. I'm not going to bother with it. So you're working with this energy. You're coming together with it. You're making your point. They're getting online with you. It is going forward the way you want. You're going to have to kind of regulate this, though. And I feel like you're already knowing that. I don't think that's a shock in any sense or shape. You got the Empress coming in with the dog spirit. It's definitely a co-conspirator. It's a co-managing, a co-creation. You have to work with another energy, but even then, I feel like you're more in control than this other person. You got to be on it. You have to be faithful to it. Kind of like the situation is like you got to stay on it. You can't really walk away. You can't give this person too much leeway because you know what happens. It's going to go back to Trainwreckville, and you don't want that. This situation goes very well, but you're going to have to constantly be on it. I feel like this is another thing where you got to it's one of those things where you realize this person gets on your nerves a little, and they always will, but you just can't afford to even entertain those thoughts because that could just create problems that you really don't have time for. And as long as you're connected with it, I feel like this will be a very good success. This time it'll be a lot better around, as long as you're connected with it. So if the players change for whatever reason, the dice are getting thrown. It depends on who takes over. Because the person you're connected with, you can't depend on that person to do it in a stable way is what I'm getting. It just doesn't feel stable to me. All right. And that's where we're ending. I'm going to shut this down here. I hope that helps. Thank you for watching. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James, the number 4, astral@gmail.com. Thank you.